So when you get the knowledge, distill that knowledge, convert knowledge into wisdom and understanding. And after that, make sure you are executing. And your mantra at the execution stage is, I am ready, I am willing to start imperfect and perfect in the process.
Yeah. The second one is imperfect execution. Once you acquire the knowledge, you synthesize the knowledge, and then start executing. Imperfectly while you build. And then the third one, which is critical, is refining. As you execute, you fail, you learn, you refine. Because there's a Chinese saying that says, when you think, you act. When you act, you fail. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to yet another episode of the YouREnough podcast. I am your host here, Gustav B. Achu. It's always a great plumping pleasure having each and every one of you on the platform today. But what if I told you that there are some revolutionary ideas that can completely transform your life if you just implement only 10 to 15% of them? Today, the guest I have on the platform, I want you to pause this video, go ahead and get a notepad and a pen and bring it here. I'm not talking about some guy who is in his 70s and he's mastered all the things. No, I'm talking about a young man who decided that he was going to pursue a path that he was going to acquire the knowledge and skill to transform this generation of today. My guest today is actually originally from Cameroon. He's a born business strategist, entrepreneur, author, and global thought leader, renowned for his personal enterprise monetization work. He's the CEO of Cosdef Group Limited. He's suffered a lot of early childhood challenges, including near-death experiences. But instead of letting this transform his life into the negative, he chose to use that as a stepping stone to build something significant and change the lives of many people. He graduated from the famed University of Bamenda, but that wasn't enough. He went ahead to acquire additional graduate education from Cambridge University and from the Rome Business Schools. This gentleman today has founded over 7 different businesses. And as you can imagine, some of them worked and some of them failed. Today on the show, we are going to be talking about all those things and more. But it's even more important to understand that he's not only a business strategist, but he's also a speaker and a coach who has worked with some global enterprises to help them build significant capacity and find monetization in some hidden places. Please join me, welcome very heartily, my friend and young brother, Dr. Javnyuy Joybert. Welcome, Dr. Joybert. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much, Gustav. Thank you. Yeah, big brother in the industry, in the field. And it's, when a big brother calls you on a show, it's a message from God to encourage you.
Hey, man, you've been doing some tremendous work. I find value in your work. And I believe other people find value in your work. You know what?
Thank you so much.
I read something and I want you to tell me who wrote this. In this life, you do not lose because you are weak. You lose because you allowed something weaker to grow stronger inside you. Who wrote that?
You definitely read
from your newsletter this morning.
From the newsletter this morning, yes.
It was so powerful, I had to bring this up because you know what? And by the way, your newsletter is called Wisdom and Wealth Newsletter. If you haven't subscribed to that newsletter and you're watching this podcast, there'll be a link down in the description of this podcast. I'll provide information about Dr. Joybert and his newsletter. You have to join that newsletter. It is transforming my life. Hey guys, in addition to all the valuable information I bring to you every week on my videos and my short videos on different platforms, especially here on YouTube, I also have a community of over 2,000 like-minded, serious and driven people who, like you, are receiving exclusively this time a newsletter once a week. And this information in the newsletter
newsletter is unique and it only goes to those people who are part of the newsletter community. So if you're interested in getting this once a week update, which includes different tips, different ideas on how to build yourself, how to generate wealth, how to make money, how to build a legacy, go ahead and click down in the link in the description and you'll be able to join our newsletter community. And when you join that community, you would realize exactly how much value that brings to you on a weekly and daily basis. Let's get back to regular programming.
Because you talked about something intriguing, especially in the one today. You talked about the hidden appetites that destroy kings.
Yes.
I want you to tell me more about that.
Yeah. So you see, I like to. Many times, some people get to discard how far we have come, and I have come across videos where sometimes some younger people get to, laugh and abuse the older generation. But if we're where we are, it's because of what they built upon and what they contributed, and we are just building upon what they did.
Absolutely.
So I have this knack of always trying to go back in history. Sometimes I like to read the history makers 500 years ago, 300 years ago, because I sometimes I begin to ask questions. If they were able to achieve some things they did with limited resources and technology at that time, there was a mindset, there was a pattern, there was a way they looked alive, there was a way they behaved, and the way they were trying to view the world that we need to learn from them. And we can bring that ancient wisdom and merge it with this modern wisdom, and we can create something amazing. So in studying that, I discovered that there were some great kings and military leaders and politicians that they were on the pathway to do amazing things in their journey. You can read that from Asia to Middle East to Africa to North America to Europe. And I came across some top leaders who ended up failing in destiny or not achieving the vision they had for their nations and their empires because of certain hidden appetites that they could not control, they could not, maintain. And from my study, I discovered top four of those appetites, which is greed and this hunger for power that is not controlled, and of course, lust or sexual desire, alcohol, and so on. So I came to the conclusion that if you will rise as a top leader in any industry, in any nation, you need to understand how to create a strong boundary around what is growing inside of you, because every human being, we have desires, we have appetite. And that is one of the things that makes us human. However, God also gave us the responsibility to tame this appetite. And if you don't tame them, you see, in the world, anything that is excessively done is dangerous. You see, food is good. If you overeat food, it's dangerous for you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So understanding these appetites and taming them, creating strong walls and boundaries around them is something that is critical for anybody who is ambitious and desiring to lead in any capacity.
Wow. Wow, that is amazing. And when I think about specifically what you just talked about curbing and controlling all those different appetites, I also think about the African proverb that says, right, that the devil that is going to kill you begins like an appetite. I think you're touching something very critical, because this is the fulcrum of any kind of leadership and significant achievement in life, the ability to curb that appetite. So when I read your newsletter this morning, I called my wife. I said, I have a young friend and brother. That guy, his head is something. And I just pray to God every day that he will give him time and grace to be able to extract all of that. I like the word extract because you use that a lot in your speaking, in your writing, and in your different speeches you make. You use the word extract. I want you to talk a little bit about the power of that word extract. Somebody could use different synonyms: remove, take out. It's not the same. Extract. I want you to talk about that relative to building capacity and building the ability to make progress as immigrants and as entrepreneurs.
Yeah. You see, I will take it from a unique angle to give a perfect understanding why that word extract. And everything that God created is on the earth. You see, 1,000 years ago, the mobile phone we're using was inside the earth.
True.
1,000 years ago, the laptops, the planes, every single thing was inside the earth. And whatever we consume today is as a result of extraction. Like I always fondly say, everything we have today is as a result of people using ideas and principles from subjects like, physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, and so on. And then business subjects focus on distributing, what physics and chemistry makes, right? So I that is why I like the word extract, because I believe that anybody who can extract value in any form, in any capacity from any industry has been able to start a strong process of wealth creation. Why? Because anybody you see in any industry, any billionaire and millionaire right now, at some point in their journey, there is something that either they are extracting originally or they extracted from an existing protocol and refine it and made it better.
Wow.
And everybody has something to extract. Every human being has something to extract because everybody God created, he embedded into them a certain dimension of talent, skill, knowledge, passion, purpose, and so on. And your journey to wealth creation, your journey to impact, your journey to influence starts from your ability to extract that which God entrusted into you. And when you're able to extract, you can start now paying the price to understand the business part of extraction. Now, why am I saying that? Because there are so many talented broke people because they don't understand the business part of talents or the business part of giftings or the business part of skills. So extraction is the beginning, but knowing how to monetize whatever you extract is what now leads to true wealth creation and growth in whatever you do.
I have to tell you this, Dr. Jav. This is probably the most brilliant expansion of the word extract I've heard in recent times. And I don't say this to be light on it. I say this because I'm thinking about my own self. You are so right. There are many talented, intelligent, broke people because they have the gift, they have the talent, they have the knowledge, but they don't know how to convert that into value for somebody else to pay for.
Absolutely.
And make you get what you want while you give them what they want. And I think that is where a business philosopher like you comes in. Because I've seen some of the programs you do. I've seen some of the things you try to do. In fact, you've gone ahead and even create a 12 proprietary business framework used globally by entrepreneurs and corporations.
Yeah.
I want you to touch a little bit of that framework. Of course, anybody who wants more details on it, I'll give you the opportunity to be able to reach out to Dr. Javnyuy and book some of his programs and join some of his programs. But just give us a brief on that.
Yes, in the last few years, I have spent a lot of time in researching, experimenting, building, interviewing those who have made it, observing, and just trying to understand the pathway to, I call it impact, influence, and income, the 3 I's. And to be able to help people or to contribute in people going through this process, I could only come out with certain frameworks that if anybody goes through, they can literally copy and paste. But it doesn't mean that you just copy and paste, but you need to go a step further to contextualize that framework into your situation. So those frameworks, but at some point, they address there are frameworks for individuals and there are frameworks for institutions. But the major aim of every single framework that we have created, like for example, we have a 7-step framework for individuals on how to extract, package, and monetize your value from your experience. And we have another framework on how to get bankable value from any experience you have gone through in life. Because for every experience you have gone through in life, there is somebody somewhere who is willing to pay for the lessons and the steps that you went through to come out of that experience. Or there is somebody somewhere who's willing to pay you to tell them the mistakes you made so they don't make the same mistakes and experience the same pain that you did.
Absolutely.
And the only way that they can be able to pay for it is if they're able to understand when you extract it and, of course, you communicate it. For businesses, we have different frameworks depending on at what stage of business that you are in. Either you're starting, you're growing, you want to expand, you want to scale, you want to, multiply your impact. We have different frameworks to work with you. But the goal is that my mission is always that if I work with you and you are in point A, you should be able to move from point A to point B based on that which you desire and that which you are willing to work for. Because
Absolutely.
sometimes
There's no magic
people
in this.
desire, yes, people desire it, but they are not willing to pay the price. And that's one of the major differences that exist, let's say, between people in, let's say, the lower class and the upper class. Because people in the upper class, they understand that I need to pay the price for my rising. And that price could be getting the right knowledge, the right equipment, the right tools, and spending the right time and effort to get the result that I want. Yeah.
You talk about something very important, Dr. Jav. You talk about paying the price to get to where you want. I want you to just give an example of yourself. What are some of the prices? What are some of the price you've paid in your life to be where you are today?
You see, I always found this that I don't think that my story is peculiar, especially from the African setting where we all come from, or most of us come from, because we've been a developed country and a country where at some point more than 70% of the population lives, kind of in poverty and rural areas or semi-urban areas and all of that. But I always also fondly say that if in my journey so far, I am grateful. I don't have all that I want yet. I'm not doing as big as I would like to do yet.
Absolutely.
But I always say that if I can get to where I am by the help of God, any human being in any location can defeat their background and get to where they desire to be. Because I was born to a single mom, or out of wedlock, as you may call it. And, my mom was, she's still alive, not was, but at the time, she was just kind of a farmer. And sometimes she teaches in school. And when I got to high school, it was a challenge for them to keep me in school. And you see, let me go back a bit. I was so bad in school, like secondary school, in a way that because it was a small secondary school in Kumbu at the time, so they knew my mom that she was a single mom and she was trying to just keep me in school, and I was not that good with education at the time, so I was literally always promoted on trial because they don't want my mom to pay fee the second time in the same class.
The same class.
So I was that terrible with school. My mom was struggling financially and all of that. But my mom understood the power of education. She understood, even though I didn't like education at the time or schooling at the time, she made sure I stayed in school and I keep on going to school. So towards high school, or towards the end of high school, my mom was struggling to keep me in school per se. So I started doing every single hustling that anybody can do. So in the streets of Bamenda, any legal odd job that a young man could do, I think I did on the streets of Bamenda to be able to...
Bamenda in Cameroon, correct?
In Cameroon, to be able to complete high school and, of course, to start, my undergraduate program. So I started sponsoring myself towards the end of high school and, of course, towards my undergraduate program. And ultimately, I was able to get a doctorate in business. And I did what you can know, commercial motorbike riding, what we call Okada, working in how do they call this? Car wash, working in cyber cafes at the time, working in building construction sites, working in bakeries at the time. I could do like 4 things in a day just to raise money. And that was the only way I could be able to pay for my education at the undergraduate level at the time. And it is one of the most difficult seasons in my life, but also one of the most fulfilled seasons in my life, because I was able to achieve something that it was a major hurdle and a major challenge at the time. And there are many young people who have almost the same story. There are some who give up in the process because of the pain. And because if I see somebody who gives up at that stage because of challenges and the pain and what they go through, I understand, because I know what I went through. And the truth also is that if I could go through that season, I thank God for the gift of friends that I had in that season. Because if some of those friends were not there, I am not sure I could have pulled through. Because there were some moments that I could not, afford a room for myself in Bamenda to live in. So I was living with friends and trying to go to school at the same time. Right. So having helpers like that who are friends that we just met in Bamenda, and we came from the same village and we met there, was definitely a blessing. And of course, different other hurdles in the journey of life. And I made a comment on LinkedIn today, and I said, if in your journey in life, nobody doubted you, nobody laughed at you, and nobody has betrayed you, you're too comfortable.
That's right. That's true. That's true. Yeah. And I'm glad you talk about these things very openly, Dr. Jove. I'm happy you are a very transparent, honest, open gentleman to talk about those things. And the goal of it on this platform is not for us to seek any kind of sympathy or nothing. No, it's none of that.
Absolutely.
Our goal is to uplift people, to let you listening to us understand that it is possible. That listen, with a few steps, with determination, you can pull through. But I want to ask you this. In that process, was there something in you that just told you that there was something special you had to deliver on in this life? Or it was more of a decision you made? I'm talking during those trying moments of your life. What is it that kept you still fighting? Even though you didn't see a clear picture of the outcome in the future, but you just knew that there was some light at the end of this tunnel. Was it a personal decision you made, or you felt it in you deeply that, listen, Joybert, you are born for something more. You are born to deliver on an impact in this world that only you can deliver on. What was it for you?
Hey guys, have you been wondering how you could chat with me one-on-one just to talk on your aspirations, your career, your business, and the things you might dream about with your life and you would really like to do with your life? I know it's been a challenge because a lot of people have been sending me inbox messages, asking me questions and asking me how they could get to me. That has been answered for you. I've created a one-on-one program where you can actually book a time. You look in the link in the description. You can book a time and have a one-on-one conversation with me for 30 minutes for a very small fee. If you look down in the description of this video, you will find that information, and go ahead and book a time and let's have a conversation.
Yeah. You see, I always fondly say that the work I have done, especially in terms of speaking and training and organizing workshops with top leaders, by God's grace, this has taken me over 18 countries, 4 continents, and 100 different platforms, BBC, Voice of America, what you can think of. And I didn't see this coming.
Correct.
Destiny found me by the hand of God. You see, I was still raised in a strong Christian background. I always say that my mom gave me 2 gifts that has never left me in life. And those 2 gifts have played a critical path in building who I am today. The value for education and seeking God for yourself. My mom never gave me money because she didn't have it. We didn't have rich uncles or rich aunties. We didn't have anybody.
None of that.
I grew up in a family where I could see clearly and I could hear every day. We used to do devotions every night and every morning. So if I could leave home and go hustle for my life in different towns and cities, what has never left me was that that's why I could. At that time that I was sponsoring myself through my undergraduate, it was not because I really understood the power of education at that level for myself, but it was because of what my mom instilled in me. So So it was like, you keep hearing from your mom's voice that, this is the path to go. You see, and I was bringing that peace, especially the God peace, because I strongly believe, because when I look at my life, like let's say from 2007, I look at the things I went through, the hurdles I went through, some challenges I went through, and the nights that armed robbers attacked me, put a weapon on my neck, and a lot of things happened, I could see the hand of God in different phases of my journey. And I could clearly see that, hey, mercy found you, and there was something God organized for you to do in this generation. And by divine mercy, He orchestrated that my steps, my intentions, my thoughts, and He planted a desire in me to begin to find some things to be so valuable in this journey that an average young person would not find it valuable. And that's one thing that's one thing with purpose, is that, you see, purpose has a voice.
Yes.
It has a way of speaking to you and calling to you to something higher. And it can only call. It cannot force you to respond.
Absolutely.
You see, purpose has a voice, but it will call at you, but it will not force you to respond. And the moment I know the moment I responded to purpose, I know that year. The moment you respond to purpose, it also has the capacity to begin to direct you and to order your footsteps, to begin to make decisions, even meet people and access platforms that on your own, without those purpose, you would have never been able to access them.
You know what, Dr. Jove? I mean, listen, anybody watching this podcast, I hope you are taking notes. I hope you stay to the end of this podcast so you can get all the gems this young man is dropping here today. You say something that is so critical, especially in the time we live today, because number one, the world is experiencing the greatest era of distraction like never before.
Yeah.
An average human being is bombarded by 3,000 pieces of information, advertisement every day, from billboards on the highway to commercials on the phone to different things that are trying to steal them their destiny. I tell people a lot of times, I say, we worry a lot about the thief in the market, the guy who is going to steal your wallet or pull your purse from you. But we're not paying enough attention to the thief of our minds, the thief of our destinies, the thieves of our spirit, and the thieves that distract us from listening to that voice you talked about that speaks to you about your purpose. And it's not forcing you. It's just telling you, hey, my son, my daughter, here is what I've prepared for you. Now it's for you to listen. As a young man, I want you to talk to young people, especially young African immigrants in America. Because we are living in a time today when young people are too focused on chasing frivolities instead of purpose. I want you to take a few minutes and talk to them like a young man.
One of my beliefs is that if your life is too loud, you cannot hear the whispers of heaven. There are so many loud lives.
I need to write that down.
There are, you see, whether you believe in God or not, whether you believe in Jesus Christ or not, we all came from somewhere. And there's something inside of us called the human spirit. And your mental intellect is not enough to build and create things at the higher dimension. Right? And that's where the spirit comes in, your human spirit comes in. It's a whole teaching for another day, but your human spirit is so powerful that it is the only pathway that can connect something from the spiritual realm, communicate it to your brain, and then your hands begin to execute. Now, going back to distractions, if your life is too loud with so many distractions, you don't practice what I call information diet. You consume everything. Your eyes consume everything that it sees. Your ears listen to everything that it hears. You will always fit in your generation. My belief is that if you will lead in your generation, don't consume what your generation is consuming. Don't behave the way they are behaving. Don't act the way they're acting. Don't think the way they're thinking. The only way you can lead in your generation is to literally do the opposite of what is popular culture. Because also I have discovered in my short time on earth that what is popular is not purposeful. But unfortunately, many people are pursuing what is popular and they're missing out on what is purposeful. The moment your life is driven by what is popular, popular thoughts, popular trends, popular movies, popular music, popular hangout areas, everything popular. Show me a person whose life is full of popular culture. I will show you somebody who can create and build at a high level. So one of the most important things that anybody can master in this generation is what I call information diet. Knowing how to create boundaries around what you absorb as information. Because if you're too loud and you absorb every junk that you see, it will affect in a serious way the quality of your creation. You cannot create if your life is too loud.
Man, you're just throwing down some incredible gems today, right? For a while now, I know the work you do, and you probably know the work I do. And our mission is the same. We are trying to get Africans, African immigrants primarily, to be able, number one, to see, understand, and copy the behaviors, the disciplines, the mindset that has propelled the great nations and continents to where they are.
Yeah.
Right? And you talk about the way you break down this whole piece of distraction. It brought something to my mind. I've been doing enormous research too on the side, and I realized something. In America, where we are today, the sports and entertainment industry. So entertainment involves Hollywood, all the music, all the nightclubs, all this entertainment stuff. And then sports involve, entertainment also involves news channels, CNN, all these people. Sports involves Major League Soccer, Major League Baseball, NFL. The sports and entertainment industry in America only accounts for less than 6% of the GDP.
Yeah. But
so what does that tell you and me? It tells you and me in support to what you're saying, that the pop culture, entertainment, all this stuff never builds nations. It never builds wealth for communities. Yeah. I really believe that if it could do that, Congo would be the richest country on earth, because Congolese can entertain more than anybody else. And this it's no shade I'm throwing. I'm not trying to disrespect nobody. Now, tell me a little bit, Dr. Jove. What would you say to young African immigrants in the US, in Canada, who have come into America and they still have this survival mindset? How can you help move them from that survival mindset and actions into a mindset of abundance and building for the long strategic term?
Yeah. That is such a good question, and also such a deep question.
Yes.
Because it takes a lot, and many people don't understand that they have that mindset. And based on how many of us grew up, based on the kind of culture, family upbringing, the schools we went to, and the friends we grew up around with, a lot of different moving parts and stakeholders contributed in imparting upon us and many Africans that survival mindset, that survival way of living. And there is a series I'm doing right now with members in my community known as How to Move from a Low Value Economic Personality to a High Value Economic Personality. Because I discovered that until you're able to break out from that dimension to the high value economic person, there are some things that you cannot truly build. And you see, in developed economies, especially North America, Europe, Middle East, Asia, in developed economies, survival mindset will do you a lot of disservice, even though you are in an economy that can play a big role in your breakthroughs and your success. For example, somebody can be like in North America and they're making some money, and their next immediate instinct as a result of their survival mentality is when they convert that money into the local currency, they feel that they're making money.
Correct.
And that game plan, that instinct or that feeling is not, it's an unconscious something that I've built over the years, because everything that they kept on doing while growing up was to survive.
Right.
And I always tell people that one of the best ways to break out from survival mentality is to train yourself to develop a mission mentality.
Yeah.
There are people that have survival mindsets, and there are people that have mission mindset. You see, when you are, let's say, you have a survival mindset, your goal is, how can I make this particular amount of money and take care of my bills? You are just surviving paycheck to paycheck and adapting. But if you convert it into a mission, you become a mission-driven person. And you establish that my mission is that in the next 10 years, in the next 15 years, my mission is that I am going to help 2,000 people in this industry to do this and to do this and to do that. Automatically, you see, people who are mission-driven, money becomes a consequence. People who are survival-driven, money is a slave to them. There are two types of people on earth: people that money is their slave, and people that money is a slave over them. For example, Jeff Bezos says, in the next 10 years and even beyond, people will keep on wanting packages to be delivered so fast and cheaper. So his mission is, how do I create a machinery that can help people get packages so fast and at cheaper prices? Now, that is his mission. He's not looking for money per se. But you see, when you create a mission like that, by default, you create a high-level value that now causes money to become your slave.
Yes.
So the fastest way, if you're listening to this and you notice that for so long, over and over, you keep on living paycheck to paycheck, you have never broken through and made a good amount of money that you know that this money is truly bigger than what I ever imagined, break out into a mission-driven person.
You see,
create a mission around your career or your job and be good at executing it, and I guarantee you, money will be effortlessly become your slave.
You spoke as if we had a plan on this. This is serious, because each time I have somebody like you who talks about business and that junction between philosophy, business, human endeavor, the human capacity, a lot of times some people think we're trying to talk about situations where maybe you get up and quit your job tomorrow. No, that's not what we're talking about, right? We are talking about the ability to build from the seed of what you make now. And by the way, if you're listening to us up until this point, on Saturday, the 31st of May, I'll be hosting a 1 hour 30-minute seminar. It's a virtual seminar. And the title of that seminar is From Paycheck to Prosperity. Just in line with what Dr. Javnyuy is talking about. How do you use the money you make in your job today, not as a fruit to eat, but as a seed to plant, so it can grow a new tree, and on that tree will be multiple fruits. That's what we'll be discussing. We'll be discussing strategies on which you can use your paycheck to duplicate it, to make sure that you strategically position your money in a way that you'll be able to build prosperity over a long period of time and pursue mission and purpose. Down in the comment section of this video, you will see the link. Click on the link and make sure you register to join that seminar. There's limited seating. But Dr. Jav, I like the way you break down that piece of it. because I really believe very strongly that if we are going to transform our African immigrant communities, and by extension, transforming our continent in Africa, we must find a way to be more purpose and mission driven.
Yeah.
We cannot be in the survival mode. Because when I look at life today, I look at some of the different things we enjoy, the technological advancement, the social advancement. Today, you and me are talking on Zoom, all these different things. I really believe deep in my heart that the guys who founded these companies, their main mission wasn't to make money.
Yeah.
They had a mission. They had this bigger purpose in them. Like the example you gave about Jeff Bezos. And after working on that mission, money became a natural outcome for this.
Yeah.
And the reason I say so is because, and I'm building this for the next question for you. The reason I say so is because even when I look at America today, the statistics are telling us that 90% of Black-owned businesses are one-person businesses, which means if the person is not there, the business most likely will close.
Yeah.
Over 60% of people in America are $400 away from bankruptcy. They cannot solve a $400 emergency. But yet we are living in the greatest nation on earth. For African immigrants coming into this country, immigrants coming to America, especially who have been challenged with this mindset of survivor, and now they're in a place where they can build something significant. I want you to just give me some 3 steps where a person can come into America and within 5 years be able to position themselves in a place where they can use the ingenuity of their head and the skill of their hand and the purpose and gift from God to build a very comfortable life for themselves. I just want you to walk me through that. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just give me, yes.
3 steps.
It could be more than 3 steps.
Anybody can build anything at any level, but the first step to building is understanding of self.
Yes.
Understanding of yourself. It is a very important critical phase because one of the most important questions that anybody can answer when it comes to going towards breaking through in whatever they're doing is to understand, what value do I have that I can contribute to my generation? What can I package? What can I distribute that others can happily pay for? And the second thing, still on that knowledge, really step 1 is have a deep understanding of the environment where you are. Economically, especially, understand the marketplace, understand the market forces, understand your industry in particular. Because you cannot make money from an industry and a nation that you don't understand how it works.
Absolutely.
So it is totally okay where if you come to the United States or you go to another country and you take the first few years just going through excellent, practical, real education about how things work. So that when you start building, you are building with wisdom and understanding, because that is the law of success. King Solomon said, through wisdom, a house is built, and through understanding, it is established.
Yeah.
Anywhere you see a great company that has been developed and established, the foundational process for that is the person accumulated knowledge, but they were able to distill that knowledge into wisdom and understanding. So when you get the knowledge of yourself, the environment, the industry, whatever, now begin to distill that knowledge, which is step 2, into practical wisdom that you can execute. And this execution is really about a lot of experimentation. I always tell people that one of the most important things you can be comfortable at doing is to start imperfect and perfect in the process.
Yes.
Many people have not
Want to
started
start perfect.
things that can literally change their destinies because they want to start perfect. Nobody on earth started perfect. Can give you story after story. I like 2020. I spent a lot of time. I was not traveling a lot. One that time I was in Cameroon, and I read top biographies of the top 100 billionaires in the world. how they started their early journeys. None of them started perfect. None of them. Go and read the biography of how Steve Jobs started, how Amazon started. Go and read it. When you understand how these guys started, because many times when people see them today, it's as if this guy started with everything being perfect. No. So when you get the knowledge, distill that knowledge, convert knowledge into wisdom and understanding. And after that, make sure you are executing. And your mantra at the execution stage is, I am ready, I am willing to start imperfect and perfect in the process. Then you go to step 3 and you keep on refining. And at refining, you need to learn. We need to learn the business of things. Many people don't know the business of things. That's why you can do the same thing over and over, and it's so good, but you're not making money. The problem is you have not understood how to monetize what you are doing. Everything as a business part, everything as a business part of it. So make sure you're understanding the business part of everything that you're learning and you're doing.
So if I can synthesize the 3 critical points you talked about, the first one is acquisition of knowledge.
Yeah.
The second one is imperfect execution. Once you acquire the knowledge, you synthesize the knowledge, and then start executing. Imperfectly while you build. And then the third one, which is critical, is refining. As you execute, you feel, you learn, you refine. Because there's a Chinese saying that says, when you think, you act. When you act, you fail. When you fail, you learn. When you learn, you try again. And when you try again, you eventually become better and successful. Dr. Jav, tell me, you specialize in helping individuals and enterprises monetize their value. That's something you do excellently well. Yeah. What are some of the key pillars for building scalable and sustainable income at any level? I know it's different between corporations and individuals, but can you just give us some key principles to build sustainable income? Whether as an individual or as a corporation, but mostly as an individual, because mostly individuals will be watching us.
I think that the principles even cut across both individuals and businesses, but to scale sustainable income, I always say that you need to understand how do you make money, how do you keep money, how do you multiply money, right? And all of that, everybody starts with how they make money. And for now, like for many people, how you make money could just be how the job you're doing right now and they're paying you bi-weekly or once a month. That could just be where you are right now, how you make money, that is fine. Because my belief is that the salary they are paying you is the seed to finance your vision.
Yes.
And somebody with vision and revelation will know how to convert that salary into a vision and into a business. So ascertain first, how do you make money? Start from there. Establish it. And if you want to take it a step further, how can you make money in another part-time, platform or part-time way? Because you only scale what is working. You don't scale what you're guess working, what you're assuming, what you're imagining. You scale what is already working. Now, when you have done that, the next phase is if you want to start it, you're starting a part-time business or you're starting a side hustle, or as you may call it, a passive income, if you want to call it that way. The next thing is make sure that you test whatever you're doing and be sure that it works. When it works and you're able to sell to a few clients, you need to master the art of marketing and distribution. Anybody you see making huge sums of money from anything that they do, apart from creation, apart from producing the value, apart from packaging the value, if you create value and you package the value and you don't know how to market that value and distribute it, you cannot scale. So many people fail at the stage of marketing the value and, of course, distributing the value. So you need to learn, pay the price and learn, how do I market this value and how do I distribute this value? Why is this important? Because value that is not understood, value that is not marketed or distributed is most of the time underlooked or overlooked by the market. So you have something that can make so much money for you, but you are not making money from that thing because you are not marketing the value and you are not distributing it.
Correct.
So when you get this, you can always scale consistently because you repeat the process. So if you want more clients and to get paid a lot more, do a lot more marketing, reach out to more new markets, or you can upsell and cross-sell to existing markets. But by all means, make sure that you are amplifying your marketing and you're amplifying your distribution. And automation in this process is very, very important. And also, if you want to take it a step further, having the right team members, because look at every company making it big, multi-million in terms of sales and profits, they have large team members. I'm not saying that you're going to recruit 1,000 people or 10,000 people. What I'm saying is that you can start small as an individual. But if you want to scale, you may need to start thinking of how do I create a system and get more hands in order to amplify our marketing and our distribution so we can make more money in the process.
Wow. I mean, Dr. Jav, I had a series of questions here to talk to you about, some not questions, but discussion points, right? But each time I go back to ask one, you break it down so much, I have 10 out of that one. So I find myself with all these different ideas. But I want us to walk through a practical scenario. And of course, because I have the privilege to be interviewing you today, I'm going to use myself, right? I just announced a seminar I'm organizing in May. And of course, my team has already started marketing and I'm putting together the sales and everything for that seminar. But my goal is to get 300 people attend that seminar. Of course, we don't have all the details, but based on just the things I said, can you walk me through getting those 300 people to be part of that seminar on that day? And I want people to pay attention to this because sometimes when I have experts like Dr. Jav on the forum, I like them to walk through real life scenarios because it teaches other people who are also doing the same thing. You can pick up something. This is really a masterclass free you guys are getting today. I hope you guys understand the value of this. Go ahead, Dr. Jav.
Yes. Now, you are selling knowledge, you're selling ideas, you're selling strategies, you're selling things that somebody can pick and practice in their life and see results. And the first step of that process is when you know who is the target market for that seminar.
So
and
my
where
ideal
they
customer.
Yes. And where they show up, very important. And where they show up, because if, for example, if you have a product that you're targeting Gen Zs and you're not good with TikTok and Instagram, you're going to struggle, right? If you have a product that you're targeting working professionals and you don't understand how LinkedIn work, you're going to struggle too. So
Hey guys, just a brief break from regular programming. You see, most human beings, if you really go deep into their heart's desire, they want three things. They want to live a life of growth and development in order to be relevant. They want to be able to build wealth and also leave behind a legacy that will last for perpetuity. In my Guarantee Your Legacy program, which is a custom designed program, I answer these three questions and more for you. I have limited availability on that program. It's an 8 weeks program whereby we meet once a week, one-on-one with me. In addition to that, I'll walk through the different critical things that you need to be able to grow as a person, to be able to become relevant, to be able to impact people in order to create a legacy. And in doing that, you can also build wealth. If you already have it, I can teach you how to protect it, preserve it, so that way it lasts for perpetuity. Don't hesitate. If you would like to learn more about that program, click on the link down in the description section of this video, and I sure will see you on the inside. Let's go back to the regular program.
knowing your customers is one thing, but one of the most important pieces that I have learned from experience is know where they show up.
Yeah.
And if you know where they show up, you tailor your message to reach out to them in a way that they understand that you have a solution to their pain points and you can help them achieve something that they have always wanted to achieve through a solution. So showing up where they show up with the right message and consistently is very important. These three things. If you are able to understand, personally for me, for example, I have sold many training programs and coaching programs and here and there. And it always works. If you're able to show up where the people show up and you're able to have the right message, word message, whether it's videos or text or graphics or whatever.
And what is this right message? It has to be a message talking to the pain point only,
Exactly.
or other things, including the pain point.
You're able to ensure that they understand that you are the person that solves their pain points. So you communicate in the language that they understand, which is talking about their pain points. But that is not enough. You need to let them know that you have what it takes to take them to where they want to go. So you give them a promise. So because of these pain points and because of my framework, my solution, if you sit with me for 1 hour, 30 minutes, after that time, these are the things that will happen to you based on what you will walk them through. So you give them that promise in a way that they understand, and also in a way that they see that they can effortlessly practice what you will teach them. Why is that important? Because we are also in a generation where a lot of people like easy things. So also knowing how to even communicate what you're going to teach them in a way that they see that they can effortlessly do it and get results consistently is also very important. But you see, the whole messaging is something you need to keep on refining.
Correct.
Keep refining. You
I
use
like that
maybe
you bring that
videos,
up.
text, whatever, refining. And then because your market will always have people that they like to read. There are some that they like to listen. There are some that they like to just see pictures. So when you refine and communicate through different methods, you are reaching different types of people. And that aside, we are also in a generation where there is a lot of importance about branding.
Yes.
So if you show up out of nowhere, it'll be difficult for people to trust you and pay for your services, no matter how good it is. Why? Because every human being will first of all know you, like you, trust you before they pay for your service.
Yeah.
They need to know you
like
first.
trust.
They need to like you first. And this like doesn't mean the kind of like we're talking about. Like they just say, oh, I like the way this guy talks about this topic, just casually. And the more you show up consistently, you build that trust. And the day you ask for them to pay for something, many of them will happily pay for it because they have developed that knowledge about what you do. They have developed a liking about the work that you do. And they have read the things that you share or the videos that you share or whatever that you talk about. And they have developed some form of trust in your capabilities and abilities and experience that they are willing to pay for it in the fourth stage. So, and that's why we go back to the consistent showing up in terms of messaging.
Correct.
Because the more you show up the right way, it makes it easier for people to pay you for what you have to offer.
Awesome.
And let me say this. Many people like to look for hacks. It's good to look for hacks, but I always tell people that the real curriculum is in the action.
Yes.
Even if you have listened to me, I tell you, if you are somebody who understands the power of action and the power of observation and learning, you will achieve more and discover more things that works for you than what I'm telling you.
Right.
So listen to the hacks, listen to the counsel, but I always tell my people when I'm coaching them and training them, the real curriculum is an action. Your real curriculum is when you begin to act and you're willing to fail and you're willing to correct yourself and learn the process and you keep on going with that process, you will do much, much better. Yeah.
Man, thank you so much for that. You really dropped down the whole process there, free of charge for that matter. Now, you talked about something important in that process. You used a very powerful word called branding. It's a powerful word, but it's a word today too that, as like many other things, social media has made it to become a little bit too generic, right? Everyone today is, I know how to brand. I can help teach you how to brand. I can brand, right? But so it's very rare to find experts like you who don't only know how to brand, they have learned it, they've tried it, they fine-tune it, and they have systems that can do it.
Yeah.
Number one, what does branding mean to you in this time and age? And number two, we live in a time today with a lot of competition and noise in the marketplace. How can somebody position themselves, brand themselves in a way that they stand out from the noise?
Yeah. In simple terms, branding right now is what somebody is thinking about you right now when you're not there.
Oh, that like
Right
that.
now.
Simple and
Right
easy.
now.
What they think about you when you're not there.
Yes. Right now, maybe somebody is scrolling on LinkedIn right now and they saw a post that you made on social media or on Facebook or Instagram. They have seen something about you somewhere in a strange country, maybe, and they're just checking you out. Whatever is running through their mind while they are going through your profile is your brand that is speaking to them. And many times people confuse branding also for taking good studio pictures. That is good. It plays a role. However, branding goes and branding goes deeper because many people also think that branding is you having a LinkedIn profile or a Facebook page. That is part of it. I always tell people that the heart of branding is the value that you can create with your technical skills. And when you create that value and you can communicate it so well that somebody can see the need for that value, it becomes your brand. So branding has different moving parts that we need to get right. But the core part of branding is if somebody reaches out to you or even in your absence and they stumble on your value, what they get from that value begins to contribute to your brand that they have about you. And to build a brand in this noisy generation, one thing that you must get right is discover yourself. Find your authenticity. Because if you want to copy everybody, everybody will be everybody. And there's no brand again. But how you, let's say, for example, how you dress, your accent, everything about you is important.
It's part of your brand.
For your brand. But you see, all of those things are more powerful when we come to the core of the core, which is the value that you create with your technical skills. I'm very particular about this because in this generation right now, when people create a good LinkedIn page or website and all of that, they say, oh, my brand is up and running. No, that's not your brand. Those are branding
What have you done?
assets. Those are branding assets. But when you're able to package the value that you create with your skills. You're able to package your journey, your experience, your story, things that you have gone through in a way that somebody can read and a seed is planted in their heart about you, or they experience transformation, or they experience a contribution from you. Now, that is a brand that stands the test of time.
Correct.
You will not fade out easily. So in all of these branding assets that people are doing, always go back. If it comes to the core of your value, I always tell people, your LinkedIn page, your Instagram, your TikTok, they are your front office. They are not your branding per se. They are the front office where you use to display your brand. Now, your back office are your technical skills, what you spend the midnight candle, the mornings and the afternoons to create value. You now come and project on those front office platforms. And what people now see now create and makes up part of your brand. And just to add, there is a strong relationship between branding and your ability to communicate.
Yeah.
Very strong relationship. So you need to make sure that you understand what is your best way of communicating. Is it video? Okay, keep improving on it. Is it writing? Keep improving on it. Is it graphic design? Whatever. Make sure that you are good at communicating at a certain level. And nobody's perfect at communicating, but there are master communicators, and you can keep on improving at it until you're so good at what you're doing. But know that for your brand name to keep on growing, you need to master how to communicate the value that you create for other people to understand.
Now, I have a question for you. Now, what advice would you give to someone who feels stuck, unsure of their value, and unsure of where to begin with their transformation journey?
I always say that if you want to move to the next level, acquire the skills and the knowledge the next level requires. So my advice, or anytime you feel stuck, your next step is knowledge. Your next step is knowledge. You never break out of feeling stuck, or you never break out of stagnation without knowledge. So seek for knowledge. It may need that you may need to buy a course. You may need to hire a coach. You may need to attend a conference. You may need to buy a book. But the on the pathway I know that works and truly establishes you in terms of you growing is anytime you feel stuck, get knowledge. The only thing that darkness responds to, because when you feel stuck, it means that ignorance is behind the door. And the only way to sort out ignorance about that thing is for you to gain light, gain knowledge. And the more you gain knowledge and you practice it, you'll begin to start your process of getting unstuck and getting upon that platform of growth and progress in what you do.
Wow. Anytime you feel stuck, no, ignorance is behind the door. That is awesome, for sure. So the antidote of feeling stuck is diminishing ignorance. Period.
Yeah.
The less ignorant you are, the more unstuck you will feel. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, we talked about, the challenge, especially not only in the African immigrant community in America, but the Black community in general, with the kind of businesses we create, right?
Yeah.
African immigrants coming to America, listen, about 40% of African immigrants coming into America have a GED. About 24% have college degrees and college education. About 14% have advanced college degrees, right? Generally, African immigrants are well-behaved people, humble people, hardworking people, beautiful people. They love life. Why aren't we significant yet in America? When I say significant, I'm talking about, for example, the Indian community, right? About 60% of all hotels owned today in America are owned by Indians. Days Inn, Comfort Inn, those category of hotels, they bought it all. They started a specific mission in 1960. I have the whole story. I read it and I was blown. Why aren't we as Africans significant enough yet?
Yeah. It has been proven over and over that a community can never rise without the ability to come together and create wealth. You see, the strength of the Jewish community, the strength of the Indian community is in their ability to harness their collective intelligence. The African community, I don't know why, but we are too individualistic. There is a level of growth that you can experience when you practice individual intelligence. But there is a dimension of growth that you begin to experience when you master the art of bringing people together for a particular mission.
Yeah.
You see, the secret of the Indian community is the strength of their togetherness.
True.
Both either as family members or just as people that come from the same environment. It's the same like the Jewish community. They are they're among the wealthiest people in the world as far as controlling wealth is concerned.
Yeah.
One of their key principles is that if you have a son and you started a laundry business, when your son grows up, your son can go and start another business. Let's say, maybe it could be a food business, and attach it to that existing laundry business that the father started. Whatever you're starting should be a continuation to what the father started.
Mhm.
Now, the Indian people, for example, when somebody's coming from India to America, to Canada, when they come, they join a community. For example, nobody leaves India and is coming to America. For those I've spoken with, they will tell you that before somebody lands, a job is already
waiting for them. Yeah.
The job that is provided by the community here waiting for the person. They don't need to know your family members. As long as you're Indian and you're coming, and the community where you're coming to, they have informed that community, it's their responsibility to create that atmosphere for you to get integrated faster in the American market. So our problem is that we struggle to tap into our collective intelligence. We struggle to tap into it. And it's the same thing that's affecting the whole continent. The most difficult continent to travel within is Africa. It's an African.
Yep.
I have traveled more than 15 countries in Africa. The most difficult continent to travel within as an African is Africa. Terrible visa processing
system. No
terrible payment process. So many things moving different parts, and it makes it so difficult. And a continent where people cannot move freely, money cannot move freely, and supplies cannot move freely, will keep on struggling. America is where it is because you can literally wake up right now and go to another state without thinking of anything literally.
Fact.
And it will keep on, as long as people can move freely, money can move freely, goods can move freely, that nation will keep on rising.
Fact.
That's a
I think you make a very good point, Dr. Jeff, because you talk about the ability to tap into our collective intelligence. This is a challenge that almost every African or anybody observing Africans talk about, right?
Absolutely.
And one of the things I think it's important for immigrants and Africans to understand is it's not only unique to us. Indians do have bad seeds in their community where when they invest in a business, somebody could embezzle the money. Or Jews do, maybe to a different extent, right? But I'm just saying that some of these challenging practices is not unique only to Africans. But why is it only within the African immigrant community or the African community where the levels of intolerance are so high, where the levels of distrust are so high, where when I come to do business with Dr. Joe, I'm only looking for a reason to distrust him, not reasons to trust him. Why do you think it's the case? And how do we go past that mentally to build significant influence? Because I really believe that is one of the reasons why there is no significant African corporation, for example, in America. We have all professionals from different walks of life. How come we don't have no significant businesses? I was talking to a friend the other day who is a medical doctor. I said, show me an African-owned hospital in America, a major African-owned hospital. We don't have it. How come? Why?
It still goes back to all of that. And of course, how we were raised up in terms of, we were not instilled that culture of togetherness. And I also want to say that based on how I grew up, I don't think that the values of that unity, integrity, high moral excellence, they were really embedded into us. Like, for example, if you go to these cultures and you look at the way the Japanese raise their kids, For example, there's a story of somebody who left Nigeria and went to Japan. So if you study their curriculum, you'll be amazed. There's a particular way they raise their kids. And this guy forgot, a businessman, a wallet dropped, and that wallet had over $50,000. And he cashed out, was going to do a business deal.
Mhm.
So it fell in a taxi, and the taxi guy took it and kept it. And the guy now called the cab company and all of that. They figured out the guy, and they called the guy, and the guy brought the money. The Nigerian guy was surprised, and he asked him, "Why didn't you take the money?" The cab driver said, "It is beneath us to steal. It is below us to steal."
It is morally low.
It's so morally low for us to steal.
Yes.
Totally beneath me. I cannot steal, even though I'm a cab driver and I need the money, but I cannot. It is my system will not allow me to do. I don't have that capacity to steal. It's like that's what he's saying, telling the guy.
Yes, it is.
You see, and it is based on, if you look at how they raise their kids. For example, in Japanese schools, they don't have cleaners per se because they teach their kids some basic chores to do themselves. And they use things like that to raise their kids in a particular way. You see, so I think that we assumed that as a people, we learned moral excellence.
Mm-hmm.
But moral excellence is imparted intentionally. It's an intentional process. It's an intentional teaching curriculum. We need to take our people through and let them know that, you see, in this journey of life, there are some things that you can compromise upon based on who you are called to become and where you're going to.
Yeah.
And then that consciousness that we need to impart in our people that, you see, being a generational disruptor is not for a particular group of people.
Yeah.
It's for everybody.
Everybody.
Because we are also raised to begin to feel that success is not for some people.
Mm-hmm.
It is for some people.
Mm-hmm.
And that also plays a big challenge in the way we think and the way we see life.
I like the example you give about the Japanese, because I think it was World Cup, the football World Cup in 2022.
Exactly.
I think so.
Yes.
These guys finished playing
Qatar. Yes.
in Qatar. They finished playing, and the supporters started cleaning after them.
Exactly.
They
Yes.
were
It's
picking
their
up
nature.
trash. They
Yes,
were
it's their
picking up
nature.
everything they used
Exactly.
in the stadium.
Yeah.
So the cleaners didn't have no work to do in that area.
Yeah.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
And I like the fact that you bring that up, because these are some things that I really believe. There are a lot of things that are good about our culture.
Yeah, there are.
And I don't want anybody to misconstrue what you're saying or what we're saying here to mean we are trying to teach our culture. We're proud of it. We believe there are a lot of things that are great about our culture. But there are also some things that are holding us back from competing globally.
Exactly.
That are holding us back from being able to unleash the potential that we have with us. Because you make a good point. I take, for example, we live in a country today where there's massive opportunity, right? And as you and me know, at every point in time, it's better to have a slice of $1 billion cake than to have a whole $10 million cake.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, if it is to go support somebody who died, we're fine. Somebody who is sick, we're fine. But if Dr. Jobs would say, hey guys, listen, I have an opportunity today and I'm trying to rally 100 people with $10,000 for $1 million. Let's go after one of the best apartment openings that are available in Houston.
Yeah.
You'll be hard pressed to find 10 people.
Yeah.
What is responsible for that limiting mindset when it comes to things that will help accelerate us? And just to give you a little nuance before you respond. Yes, I understand all the challenges. There might be all kinds of fear, but I always ask myself, if you do this 5 times and just one works out, it makes out for everything else.
Yeah.
In all the other communities that they do that, I am sure that is not all the businesses they do that works.
Of course.
Probably have more failures than successes, but the success is big enough to mask the failure,
Exactly.
and they don't talk about the failures as much as we talk about. We market the negative. Why? And how can we resolve that?
Yeah. You see, we have spoken about mindset, culture, and all of that. Our people now, we need to move to intentional learning.
Yes.
Because the only way that you can edit old information is to reject it and introduce new information. And as long as our people struggle to really learn the right things, it will be a challenge. You see, I've had the privilege to travel several different countries, and I met amazing Cameroonians and Nigerians diaspora in those countries. And one thing you will find that replicates itself is that the same lifestyle that they were living back home, they imported into these countries, right? For example, a lot of excessive alcoholic drinking, partying here and there, but yet still having limited access to quality destiny shifting information
and interaction.
Because you never rise above the quality of what you know. You never rise above that. The quality of your rising directly relates to the quality of the body of knowledge that you have access to.
Yeah.
So our people will need to really go through that intentional process of unlearning, relearning, and learning new things. If we are unable to do that, when you come to a capitalist economy like this, you can get any kind of job. You will find it. And because you have the wrong kind of knowledge, you will be capped at that lower level of the society.
Right.
And after so long, you retire and there's nothing profound to show for. Does it mean that the system did not give you the opportunity? No. It just meant that you didn't acquire the knowledge to give you the possibilities to make good use of the opportunities that we are available.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that if we are going to break out as a people, the first step of breaking out is to break out in knowledge acquisition. Knowledge acquisition is important. I always tell people that if you want to change your destiny, develop what I call innovative learning curriculum for yourself.
Yeah.
Look at areas of your life where you are blindsided. Buy courses. Go to YouTube if you can. Find channels that talk on that thing. Feed yourself on those things at least for 6 months. Challenge yourself to command a body of knowledge and expertise in that field.
You look at
change
Dr.
a lot in your destiny.
You say something very critical there. That is very critical, especially because I like the fact that you make the distinction between knowledge and acquired in this informal way. And of course, the traditional degrees and all of that. That is very important. You are a PhD.
Yeah.
I have been to college. I know that is important. But I think one of the important things I want people to take away from what you just said is the power of your own curriculum that you build for yourself and going out to educate yourself.
Yeah. It's very important.
To me, it is capital. To me, it is the most important thing in the time we live. Because anybody who will be listening to this podcast thus far and you've been following Dr. Javnyuy, there's a progress to how our conversation has been. We've talked about mindset. We've talked about faith. We've talked about purpose. We've talked about practical steps. And now we are talking about knowledge accumulation and acquisition. And it is important because when I look at my own life here, I went to the University of Yaoundé. I have a bachelor's degree in law. I left Yaoundé, came to the US. I did practical nursing. I ended up going to the UC Berkeley in California. I did graduate certificate in marketing and international business. Went back to Africa, tried some businesses out. It didn't work, came back bankrupt and all of that stuff. But the most important thing to me is from about 10 years ago, when I decided, you know what, Gustav, you have a gift. You have some things in you that God gave you. And I started listening to that quiet voice you talked about. It's a choice. You can let it rot, or you can start doing things that can empower you and enhance that stuff. And about 5 years ago, I became completely intentional about the fact that the gifts I have to work on it till it can deliver for me. And that process led me into a process of self-education, which I believe that has been more valuable to me than any degree I've had. I'm sure that might be an experience too. I don't know.
It is.
But it is incredible. And I want you to talk about that, Dr. Joe.
And the things I talk about and I travel and I teach, they are not academic per se.
Yes.
There's a role of academics.
Yes.
You see, one of the things that school will give you is your ability to process knowledge. It will give you those kind of things. And it also helps to harness the quality of your brain and how you can know how to learn, because there's something called meta skills. Meta skills are skills that helps you to learn. Anybody who knows how to learn can survive and succeed anywhere.
Right.
Anywhere.
Right.
So anybody who understands, or you can discipline yourself and go through a form of personal education, you will always rise. Why? Because the moment you are stuck at doing something, your next move is, let me go and read or follow a video tutorial to come and do what I was trying to do and I was stuck. You see, that's the mindset that makes people. That's why you can look at the great people. They taught themselves either how to code, how to build rockets for themselves, and so many other things that they did on their own. You see, there's something.
Absolutely.
There's something I always teach. There's a course that I handle with executives in my community known as how to go from knowledge obesity to elite execution. Because in this generation,
I like that one. Knowledge obesity.
Yes, it's a big challenge in this generation. There's so much knowledge to accumulate. There are some people that are experts at attending conferences. There are experts at listening to podcasts. There are experts at watching YouTube videos. There are experts at reading books. But there is no execution from that knowledge. You see, so I always tell people that you need to master how to begin to distill. And I was saying that to say that one of the best ways to learn is to do what I call project-based learning. I always tell people, don't read for entertainment. Don't take a course for entertainment. Don't even listen to a podcast for entertainment. Your life is too short to do a lot of things for entertainment.
Very true.
I always tell people that when it comes to knowledge acquisition, have a two-dimension way of getting knowledge. Mission-driven knowledge and curiosity-driven knowledge. Mission or project-based learning is, let's say right now you have an event coming up. You can decide that every video you're going to watch, every podcast, every book you're going to read is on how to organize a paid event virtually and how to create impact and transformation in the lives of every participant.
Fact.
So, as you're building the webinar curriculum, as you're building how you're going to run the workshop and all of that, anywhere you're stuck, you take a course, you watch a video on YouTube and all of that. So everything you're learning is mission-driven. So whatever you learn is to apply. Whatever you learn is to apply. Then there is curiosity learning, where you are learning about new things in your industry so that you stay ahead of time, or you stay ahead of majority of the stakeholders in your industry. So if you do project-based learning or mission-based learning, and you do curiosity-based learning, you will always stand out as far as the work that you do is concerned. True thought leaders and true builders and true creators, they don't do information-based learning.
Yes.
Entertainment-based learning. For example, you see, there's a body of thought in the knowledge industry where, including entrepreneurs, where some people say that they advise people don't read poetry, don't read those kind of things because they will not help you. Read things that you can then and apply. That's what they say, right? I have my own perspective about that, but what they're trying to say is this goal, where we're able to become people that we really spend a lot of time in that personal development and knowledge acquisition, but not to show off, but not for entertainment. But we should understand that these are my 10 goals or 4 goals for this year. And in these goals, I have what you can call knowledge gaps, skill gaps. Therefore, every book, every course, every podcast, every YouTube video I would watch, I'll spend my time on will be to fill these knowledge gaps and skill gaps so I can execute my set of goals for this particular year.
Wow. Dear ladies and gentlemen, man, those who've been listening up until this point, I hope you've also been filling your own knowledge gaps here, because this has been a masterclass, right? So, Dr. Juve, we're getting close to rounding up, but before we do that, what is your opinion about legacy? How important is legacy to you? And why that should be one of the centerpiece of conversation in our communities if we want to build something significant? Yeah.
Legacy mindset is closely related to the mission mindset. And it's one of the ways to break out from survival mindset into abundance, multiplication, and fruitfulness. Where everything that you are building, everything that you're working upon is based on you creating something significant that when you leave behind, it keeps on running even when you are gone. Right?
Correct.
And it is very important to have that consciousness in the way we are building, because the proof of your leadership is what you leave behind, not only for your family, but for your generation.
Yeah.
And if we are truly humans, we'll understand that the school you went to was somebody's legacy.
Yes.
The church you went to was somebody's legacy. The roads you are using, somebody's legacy. The cars you're driving, somebody's legacy. If you're thinking in that pattern, you will have a conviction that, hey, there is something that I can contribute in leaving behind. But apart from that, if you truly want to experience abundance and increase and impact and influence as a person, you have to play the legacy game. The legacy game is not just about you dying. No. The legacy game is that legacy-driven people, they build some things that benefit people beyond their immediate family members.
Absolutely. And while they are still alive too. Legacy can be built and enjoyed while you're alive and then crystallized after you're gone. I like the way you break it down. And the reason why I ask that question, and I ask it to some people I bring on my platform, is because when I look at our African immigrant community in America, I look at the African continent, I look at the challenges we face across the board to really become what has been only potential the last 60 years since independence for most countries.
Yeah.
In addition to some of the challenges we know. But one of the innate challenges that is within our control is the ability for people, us as Africans, to take legacy seriously. Because when you think about legacy, based on the way you just put it out now, when you start asking legacy-changing questions, then you start behaving in legacy-building ways.
Exactly.
When you start asking legacy-changing questions, you no longer care about stealing 1 billion francs. You don't need it. When you start asking legacy building questions, you no longer worry about frivolities. You worry about things that will outlive you. And I like the fact that, Dr. Jove, you even brought it down to the simplistic term of the fact that everything we are enjoying is somebody's legacy. I went to CPC Bali. Reverend O'Neill was the first principal of CPC. He's a revered gentleman out of, I think he came from Ireland or somewhere, one of those places, right? From the Basel Mission, no, Switzerland. And buildings were named after him. He's in the annals of history in the Presbyterian Church at CPC Bali. That's his legacy.
Exactly.
Right? You talked about hospitals, roads. People gave up their life and sweat to build those things, and that's their legacy. And I really believe that in everything we've spoken about today, which is critical, but one of the things that we need to pay attention to is legacy, because that is what really starts changing things. Now, any last words, Dr. Jove?
Well, thank you for having me. It was a good discussion and very insightful questions. Thank you so much. Very intelligent questions. There are a few podcasts that, people get to ask me so many deep questions. So thank you so much. But I will just add that, you see, everything we have shared is to plant a seed.
It's
because you will not change your life automatically by listening to us in 1 hour, 30 minutes or so. But there are seeds that when planted, when you water them, your life can change a few weeks from now. I always fondly say that hope is hopeless without action. The seeds that we have planted in our discussions, in our exchanges, can literally change your life. Why? Because the major breakthroughs in life always happen when what you know and what you don't know, when they interlock. There's always that breakthrough. Maybe throughout this discussion, Gustav has said something that hit you so hard. I said something that inspired you so hard. That is your future calling on to you that, hey, there is something more in this area that you need to dig deep into it. But I guarantee you that if you pick one insight, you pick one strategy, you pick one perspective and double down on it with the mindset of high-level execution, you never know. 2 weeks from now, 8 weeks from now, 3 months from now, whatever time from now, you may literally be executing a groundbreaking, destiny-shifting idea as a result of this discussion. I always tell people, new knowledge should reduce the quality of your suffering. You have been suffering so much. If you have spent time to listen to this podcast, let the new knowledge that you got from us reduce the quality of whatever you're going through as a challenge financially, career-wise, business-wise, marriage-wise, whatever. Let something reduce in your life because something entered you in the name of new knowledge. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Joybert Javnyuy. And our dear viewers, you've heard it all, right? I hope certainly this is going to be a turning point in your life for those who have been stranded, those who have felt stuck. If you have been on the journey, I hope this is going to add some fuel to you. If you're at the top of the ladder, I hope this gives you the ability to realize that it's not the end. There is still something more. You look in the description of this video, you're going to find links on how to contact Dr. Joybert. If you want to continue conversations, he offers incredible programs which can transform you, not only as a person, but your business, most importantly, which can give you the opportunity to learn how to monetize your gift and your skill. You can see the other programs I also offer. On this platform, we talk about purpose, we talk about wealth, and we talk about legacies. Because we believe that for you to be able to build wealth first, you must first of all know who you are. You must identify your purpose and tirelessly work with that. And then when you identify your purpose, you work with it, you build wealth, you want to make sure that your name lasts forever, that nobody ever forgets who you are. My goal on this podcast is that I ignited the fire in you. My goal on this platform is that I bring people who know more who know even better than I do, so that we all can learn from them and build something bigger as a people. My goal on this podcast is that someday, 40 years from today, 50 years from today, a young man, a young lady out of Africa, out of any part of the world, in America, in Canada, in England, in Cameroon, in Senegal, in Gambia, in China, can watch this podcast, listen to Dr. Joybert, and go do something significant with their life. I don't say so to impress you, but I say so because most likely somebody had spoken things upon your life that forced you to believe that you're not enough, that forced you to believe that maybe you don't have the capacity, the intelligence, the ability to achieve on your God-ordained destiny. But I want to remind you that just like Dr. Joybert, who we are privileged to have on the line, I've been telling you the last 30 minutes, that you are enough, that you are intelligent enough, you're smart enough, you have the capacity and the ability to go out there and win mightily. Until the next time, I will see you at the top. And I want to leave you with this one from Dr. Joybert a few minutes ago. Every new knowledge you get should reduce your suffering. And anytime you feel stuck, know that ignorance is hiding behind the door. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you all at the top. Dr. Joybert, thank you very much for your time, man.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you,
much.
sir. Thank you.